Welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. Subscribe for more episodes and follow our social media at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 11, I'm delighted to be joined by former Irish soccer international and current Peamount star Karen Duggan. Just a quick note, this episode was recorded back in September, but we still had a fantastic chat about her career in both soccer and camogie. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi Karen, thanks a million for coming on.
No problem, thanks for having me on.
I'd just like to give the guests kind of a quick minute or so to kind of give their kind of background of who they are in sporting and kind of professional life.
So my name is Karen Duggan. I come from South Kilkenny in a place called Peamount. Former international soccer player and currently playing for Peamount United.
Fantastic. So kind of bringing it back to your kind of beginnings of, you know, your soccer career and sporting career, what kind of prompted you to start playing? Was there someone at home that played, or was it just, let's get Karen down, get out of her house, get her out of the house, stop annoying us?
Yeah, I'm sure there was an element of that, all right, but my brother would have played a lot of sports. I think where we're from, kind of everyone played sport. It was just one of those things. My mum was into sport. My dad played sport when he was younger as well, but a few cruciates paid to that short-lived. I got from his friends that he was very good. He was a very good striker, but it's all hearsay to me. So they were really into sport, and to be fair, everyone played Gaelic, everyone played Camogie. Well, it was hurling at the time because we didn't have a girls' team. Everyone played basketball, swimming, you name it. Like, everyone was there. So it was 5-6 days a week, all at different sports, and all of my gang played in school. And a good few of us have remained playing, especially in the Camogie team and stuff. So that was great. It was just where your core group of friends came from, and everyone just did the same thing. So that was really it.
Yeah, so obviously you weren't focused then solely on soccer growing up. You had other sports that you could kind of not take a break from soccer, but, you know, keep your skills up in sort of a different sense.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose being from Kilkenny, you're kind of a hurley's put in your hand pretty young, and I'm pretty grateful for that. I've had some great years. My favourite sporting moment is playing with my club, Piltown. We won an intermediate All-Ireland, and that always stands out to me as my favourite sporting moment. And played camogie in school, played county minor and stuff like that. So camogie probably and hurling is probably the biggest sport where I'm from, but there's also a strong enough soccer team that play in the Waterford League. So that was a pretty strong league when we were younger as well. Not much Gaelic now. That was more in school. But yeah, we had basketball as well. And I think that all those different things kind of did play into my development. I mean, you have your short and sharpness that comes with kind of camogie and basketball, and endurance more that comes from maybe swimming and things like that. So I definitely think it all fed into my success probably as a soccer player.
Yeah, it's probably something that maybe these days parents and coaches are trying to get players maybe to focus on one sport too early, and they don't realise the benefits of playing multiple sports.
Yeah, I totally think that is an issue. I think when you're younger you should be trying everything and find your place. I mean, I could have gone down and tried a different sport, but I was allowed to try them all and then pick for myself which ones I played, and I still play camogie. And I did all the way through my international career. Now, I kept that kind of quiet a lot of the time, but I did camogie because I loved it. I did soccer because I was probably good at it, and I enjoyed that balance that it gave me. And I do think it's not right for coaches to be fighting over players and parents to be putting pressure maybe one way or the other. I think it should be up to the child, and especially at a young age, that they should come to some sort of compromise between coaches. It shouldn't be all about this competition. And maybe I'd have been a better soccer player if I focused on it solely, but I'm not of that belief, especially not for primary school kids, definitely not.
Yeah, and as well, not only trying to get to focus on one sport, but trying to manage the training load. Like, you know, you could be running from soccer training at 6 to 7, you've camogie at 7:30 to 8:30. Like, that's not sometimes ideal when you're starting to hit your growth spurt. You'll see the injuries start to pop up and stuff
possibly,
like that.
But I think sometimes we're gone a little bit on the overly cautious side of things as well. So people are minding themselves too young. I didn't know what a hamstring was, so I was in my late teens, whereas I see now there's under 12s with hamstring strains and stuff like that. So I don't. There's there's two sides of the story there. You don't want someone
Yeah.
burning out, and there was definitely times in my youth where I definitely did burn out and tried to do
Mm.
too much.
Yeah.
And then maybe I had to kind of go more towards the soccer route. But I'm glad I was
Mm.
given the opportunity to make that decision for myself.
Yeah, totally. As you said, trying to get the balance between not
Mm.
overdoing it, and not kind of protecting yourself too much.
Yeah.
And then just chatting about your Camogie career there, I was doing my research, and I had it written here that you were selected for the under 16 Kilkenny team. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would have played. My first year playing was under 16, so I played 2 years under 16 and 2 years minor. And I was kind of blessed the age group that I grew up in. Like we won 4 All Irelands in the 4 years that
Wow.
I played camogie with. So
Yeah.
definitely spoilt in that regard, and it was amazing to be part of all that. I probably didn't appreciate it at the time as much because it was part of maybe 5 in a row or whatever that Kilkenny had won at underage. And everyone kind of expected that success to translate into senior level, and it didn't really. And the girls, it took so many years for them to get that All Ireland. It was great to see it when they finally did. But yeah, no, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. But when it came time to play senior, I played senior a little bit. I went to for a couple of games in a league campaign, and I just didn't feel like it was really for me.
Yeah. Okay.
The commitment that you need to be able to give to that was probably more intense even than what I had to give to the international soccer setup. So I didn't feel I could do that because I was never going to give up soccer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I decided that maybe County Camogie was a bridge too far for me.
Yeah. And kind of growing up then, which one did you prefer? Was it both just equal?
I probably enjoyed both sports similarly, but I enjoyed the feeling of winning a camogie match with my parish probably more than with soccer, but I was probably better at soccer.
Okay.
So you had that kind of ego side of me that enjoyed the aspect of being better at soccer and being one of the best there. So it'd be hard to choose. Like I'd probably say overall soccer, but my best moments in sport have come from camogie.
Okay. Yeah. So it's favorite. It's kind of like favorites, but in different ways. You can't really
Yeah,
compare them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, totally.
definitely.
And then kind of switching over to your soccer career then, you spoke before on another podcast, you weren't picked for like a skills team in first year.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
my
Yeah.
first year, yeah, that I would have gone for a schools team. I remember I was on standby and didn't make the team. Thought the world was ending. Someone got injured, and I still didn't get called in. So, the fair old kick in the teeth. That was a learning curve, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't make it the first year that I went for that under 15 schools team, and I was in first year. In second year, then I did make it. I was fairly bit between my teeth then, but I didn't actually start the first game either.
Okay.
And then we had an easier game against Northern Ireland, so some of the subs kind of played that one. I played that one, and I kind of kept my place after that. But
Very
no, it
good. Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't plain sailing
Yeah. A
route
couple of
there.
bumps in the road, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, there's been plenty of
Yeah.
those.
And then kind of looking back on your underage career, and with your wisdom you have now, is there anything in particular you wish you worked on when you were younger, and like skills wise, or even maybe tactically and stuff like that?
I think that something I probably struggled with was confidence, more so than maybe the skill set. I was never an overly a flair player, but I did have a bit more about me. But then I kind of, when I went into Irish camp, I was maybe too afraid to make mistakes,
Yeah.
and maybe my game adapted a little bit. I became a lot more defensive and stuff like that. So I
Okay.
would try and keep a bit more flair in my play and a bit more confidence in my own ability, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of people you see playing, they're saying, oh my God, they're so talented, so skillful and stuff like that. But a lot of it is confidence.
Yeah.
As well as confidence to take on those moves. I think Kate Cave is probably a prime example of that. I would have had run-ins with her when she was younger, and maybe called her cocky once or twice, but we became great friends afterwards. But
Yeah.
it was because she had that flair and she had that bravado and wasn't afraid to show off her moves. And I think that is something I would probably tell my younger self anyway, to try and have a bit more confidence in my own ability.
And how did you combat that confidence, when you were transitioning to becoming a senior player? Was it just practice, or did you have to kind of really work on it?
No, I definitely did have to work on it. Nerves were a big thing, but it kind of came with more game time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Once I became like one of the mainstays in the starting 11, confidence grew, and you do get that kind of cockiness that I do deserve this spot. I've worked hard for this spot and I'm going to hang on to it. So
Yeah.
it came with the time, to be honest. It took a lot of hard work to get into that position, to keep my place on the team. But yeah, it was a lot of hard work.
Mm. And then kind of looking back on your underage career, is there any sort of standout moment or highlight?
Um, See, underage was almost like fun, to be honest. It was one of those things that was just it was very different to the senior setup. You were kind of making your friends and stuff in there. So I guess kind of the friends that I've made out of that, I'm still friends with, like Neve Burke, Julianne Russell. They'd be some of my best friends. So that was really important, and we always had good crack in camp. I think we underperformed a little bit in terms of the talent that we had at underage level, never qualifying for a major tournament because we did have a really, really strong team. And I think possibly it's just to do with timing. I think that the setup is a lot better now. The training is a lot better now. There's a lot more focus on the girls' game, and the management involved and stuff are a lot more focused on their own teams. Whereas it's a part-time job as well for some people, and maybe wasn't their primary focus. So I'd say we underperformed a little bit, I would say, for the talent that we did have in the squad.
But it was more for you about the relationships off the field and the friendships that you
Yeah,
formed.
I was a really, really shy kid going into camp, like, and only that I was rude with Julianne Russell. I never spoke. Only she never stopped speaking, so I had to chime in a little bit at some points. But Julianne's one of my best friends now, and she kind of brought me out of my shell and stuff. So I thank her a lot for that. But yeah, no, it was important because then when I moved up to Dublin and stuff, those same girls are the girls I'm playing soccer with now, and you'd already formed friendships. So even in terms of me moving from Kilkenny up to Dublin, I came up to a group of friends, and
Yeah.
that was a really nice feeling as well. Yeah.
Made the transition a lot easier for you, obviously.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then your senior debut with the senior women's team, were you waiting long for it? As in, were you called into the squad maybe a couple of months
I was
before?
waiting months, years.
Yeah. Okay.
I was on my first squad when I was 18 or 19 anyway. Julianne
Yeah.
actually got sick and they called me in. It was an away trip to Israel. I was delighted to be called in, but like I
Yeah.
kind of thought from there, I'd start getting in, and I didn't make my debut till I was 23. So
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
in and out of the squad for 5 years, kind of always
Right.
that standby player sitting on the bench for a few years. So no,
Mm.
it was another as much as 1 year waiting for the Irish schools team. There, I had a lot longer to wait to get to get that first senior cap. So
Yeah.
real feeling of actually, everyone's like, "Oh, were you so excited to get it?" And I was like, "No, I was just absolutely relieved, that
Yeah.
I'd stuck at it for so long. You'd nearly think, what am I doing?" But I was very relieved to get that first cap. It was an awful game. It was swirling
Oh, right.
wind against South Africa. I think I came on centre back. I probably touched it once,
Yeah.
just header into the sky. But yeah, it didn't matter to me once I got that cap.
Yeah, yeah, very good. And was there anything you kind of realised coming in? Obviously, you were saying you were a couple of years waiting. Is there anything you kind of realised, right, I really need to, improve in this area, or kind of, sharpen up in other areas as well?
Yeah, I was probably a bit naive the first my first couple of years because I was living that college lifestyle. To be fair, like I was
Yeah,
a student in UL as well, and I didn't shy away from that social aspect of that life either. So,
yeah,
as much as I complained that I wasn't getting my caps, I maybe wasn't as in as good a shape as I could have been. I was in good shape, like I deserved to be in the squad, but maybe not quite in the starting 11. And then when I moved to Dublin, um, and moved to maybe UCD Waves, that club team, and we started doing a lot of gym work, and I noticed my strength improved an awful lot of stuff. My speed probably picked up from that a little bit as well. So I probably was that bit sharper, and maybe that was what did make the difference.
yeah. And then kind of speaking about your international career, something that's very prevalent at the moment is the US women's national team. And I guess the Irish squad have had a couple of friendlies against that team. What was that like, kind of going over there and going to the crowds? Like, I know you've played in the Rose Bowl before.
Yeah,
What was that like?
it's like a different world, like we've had what we thought were big games against the likes of Germany and Tala, and we might have gotten 4 or 5 thousand people, if even at the time. And we went over there, and first time we played them, it was a smaller stadium, but it was sold out. And, it was like 18,000 people.
Wow.
And then the following time we played them, it was something like 30,000 or even more. And it's just a different world. Like you drive in and there's fans tailgating in the park. It's like the things you see on TV, like on all
Yeah.
those shows in the American football teams, like they have that following. And that was just what was incredible. Playing against them as a team, what struck me is just their power and pace. I wouldn't say that they're technically like
Okay.
the Spanish or anything that we played them. They were ticky-tacky football, didn't give us a touch of the ball. But when we played against America, they just powered us out of it basically. So that was kind of interesting to see as well. But that power beat us 5-0 the first time, or the second time. It was 3-0 the first time, which I thought was pretty respectable. But it was 5-0, I think, the second time we played them. And they were actually on their victory tour from the World Cup, I'd say, at the time. So we were on different levels, but like it was unbelievable experience. And for me, who stayed as an amateur footballer, and I would never get an opportunity like that otherwise. Anywhere basically. The closest it came, or the next best probably better, was the time we played Holland in Nijmegen. But again, they were just after winning the European Championship, so that's why they had that amazing following, and there was 30,000 seaters sold out. But it was a massive eye opener at that time to think that women's soccer could be at such a level.
Yeah. And was there anything from your point of view of playing that you kind of took away from that game? As in, was there any sort of lesson that you learned playing against, those two strong sides?
Yeah, well, I think possibly that physicality that they did have was a huge thing. The fact that I didn't pick out, say, Carly Lloyd, but I went up for a header against her and she nearly broke my nose. And I was just like she just powered me out of the way. And it was just kind of like that thing that you need to be a top athlete as well as have your technical ability if you're going to compete. You can't be like scrimping on that side of things either. So that was probably the main takeaway all right from that.
Yeah, and you mentioned it briefly there, those Holland and the US obviously had huge success, and then they kind of got the following. Is that something that Ireland kind of has to do to get the following and support, is to get kind of wins and qualify for tournaments?
Yeah. As much as the support has definitely increased in the last couple of years, success kind of breeds more success. It is that kind of cycle. The more success you have, the more interest you'll generate. I mean, I'd never watched a hockey, really any type of hockey match before the women got to the World Cup and did what they did. Whereas our whole team watched them in their playoffs last year, and we all gathered around and watched them after we lost our own cup final, because it was amazing and we knew what they could do. And the levels that they could reach. So the main thing now for the Irish women's team is to qualify for the Euros, and that's well within their reach at the moment. So I think that would be definitely the first starting point. Everyone talks about backing and stuff like that, and money, the money side of things, and that is hugely important. But getting down to basics of how we're going to increase the following of that team is going to be a successful Euro campaign.
Yeah, totally. And then kind of going back to your career, you retired in 2016, is that correct? Yeah, at the age of 27. I guess you were lucky that there wasn't any sort of major tournaments, as you were coming into the prime of your career. There wasn't anything, major.
Yeah, that was it. Like the Euros was a bridge too far for us, because we were drawn against the World Cup was a bridge too far for us. We were drawn against Norway and Holland. Like that was always going to be a major task for us, and we weren't quite up to that. And then I kind of looked at it, and at the time, a lot of players that were being brought in were very young girls, and the focus was very much on what at the time was 2021. And I was like, that's 3 years of commitment where I could kind of see the focus and the effort was being put into some of the younger girls, and I kind of thought I'd paid my dues on the bench. I'd had a great run of things, but it was maybe time for me to step aside and let some of these younger girls into the squad and prepare for what will be now in 2022. So it was probably a right decision, because it would have been an extra 4 years on top of that. Also balancing work, still wanting to play a bit of camogie and just generally have a social life as well. Have a bit of crack as well. So now Colin Bell has left, there's somewhat a shift in the approach to the team. It's not as young as it was possibly when I was leaving, but I don't really have any regrets about my decision. I probably could have gone for another couple of years and maybe picked up another few caps, and that would have been great. But in terms of the reasons I made my decision, I'm pretty happy with them.
Yeah, that's good. And then you're still playing with Peamount at the moment. I guess people don't really realise the kind of work that goes in behind the scenes with, playing obviously high level soccer. What are the sort of demands and sort of the weekly schedules that you girls have to kind of follow?
Well, I guess the main thing is, well, we do our training, which is 2 days a week, but the main thing is you are giving up your weekend, and you need to be at peace with the fact that you're giving up your weekend. The season usually runs from March to November. This year it's obviously a bit different. COVID brought about some new challenges, but it's not enough to just do those 2 trainings yourself. You have to do extra in the gym. You have to be fit, because some of the girls, and I was one of those girls as well, who they want to play at international level, and obviously in order to get to that kind of point, you do need to put in a lot of effort in behind the scenes. And to be fair, I think that anyone who does play in the Women's National League is doing that. So it takes your club commitment. Maybe girls are traveling, there's only 9 teams in the league, so you're not going to maybe have a team on your doorstep. So there's a lot of travel involved for a lot of people, particularly outside Dublin, I suppose. And yeah, a lot of commitment to the training, and it's a long season, so you're trying to keep yourself in shape and stuff for that. And it can be a long season, but it's producing a lot of good players, I have to say. Like, credit where credit's due. It's given a lot of girls a really good platform to go on to international level and go on and be a professional. So I know it gets a lot of stick, but I think it deserves a lot of credit for what it's done as well.
Yeah, and then you recently had your goal for Peamount. I said I'd have to mention it. You were the ball was passed and you kicked it. You didn't even need a touch. What was kind of going through your head? Did you spot the keeper kind of off her line, or were you just say,
No, to be honest, I thought I was responsible for giving away the goal that we conceded in the first 5 minutes. I'd had a really bad start to the game, so I just said I'd throw a boot at it, and in anger, it kind of. Oftentimes I'd be in that position now, and I wouldn't get the layoff, and I'd be giving out. But thankfully, Anya gave it to me this time, and I said when I had the opportunity, just smack it, and thankfully it went in 9 times out of 10. That hits the corner flag with me anyway, so I couldn't really believe it when it actually saw it fly in. It was a funny moment. I think it got such a reaction off the girls because they absolutely were not expecting it. I get about 1 goal a year, if even. So I'll take it. If that's the one that I have to get this year, I'll take that.
It's a good goal to take. They might be more surprised than happy when they were going over to give you a hug there at the end.
Oh no, absolutely, and they'll say that themselves. They were actually physically laughing in my face.
Brilliant. And then over your playing career, you've obviously come up against a lot of top level players. Who is your toughest opponent and why?
I would say in terms of playing the Women's National League, it's definitely Katie McCabe. She is just so technically gifted. Also Noelle Murray, we've had some really good battles over the year. I think there's a bit of a theme with the Raheny and Shells thing. I think we tend to get into battles there, but you enjoy them. You build up those rivalries, which is good. Best team I've probably played again in international level. I don't think I've ever played in a game where I felt taunted by the other team, but against Spain I really felt like they just didn't give us a touch of the ball, and just that different kind of style of play. Sometimes against the likes of maybe Germany and USA, it becomes a bit of a physical battle and you might get into that, but when Spain turned it on, I thought that it was dizzying, to be honest, to play against at times. So probably that Spanish midfield that I played against there at home in Tallaght when I think they really tore us apart. So that would be the one that kind of sticks out there.
And it's interesting you're saying like they were more probably technically breaking you down more than physically, like for the likes of the US. That's really interesting. What is your sort of I kind of have a segment with this. I always ask every single athlete, what is your pre-game routine in terms of stretching, eating and music and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't have one. No, I'm really just kind of like go with the flow. Like I'll eat well or something. I'll have eggs or pasta or whatever, depending on the time of the day. But I wouldn't be overly strict. Like it wouldn't have to be chicken and pasta or rice or something like that. I'd like whatever I fancy that won't repeat on me during a game, and plenty of water. don't really listen to psych up songs. Like you're more likely to hear me throwing on a few Westlife ballads in the car than any of that psych up stuff. So no, I actually don't really have a routine. Try and make sure I have my boots in the bag, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. My organisation levels wouldn't be the best. So
Yeah,
yeah, no, nothing.
bit of flying without wings before you hit the pitch.
Oh, I can't think of a better motivational song, to be honest.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really interesting. A friend of mine, she plays soccer as well, and she was telling me before they had a game at like 10:30, but her routine is always chicken and pasta. So she was eating chicken and pasta at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We used to do that at underage, and like it just shows like we've come on a lot in terms of our knowledge of the food side of things as well. Yeah, I remember having like maybe an 11 o'clock game, be up at 7, and they'd be shoveling spaghetti into your face, and I was just like, no, absolutely not. I think that maybe that's why I'm so against it now, just because I'm traumatized. Yeah, honestly.
It's probably good as well not to have sort of a routine or
yeah, because if something upsets it, then exactly in your head. Yeah,
you're gonna go in and already think, oh crap, I'm on the back foot, like I'm gonna have a bad game. Yeah, that's a good point. That's interesting. And then you recently started your kind of commentary career with RTE. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, I suppose I like talking.
Yeah.
Someone must have told them that. I know, I guess I'm one of the retired girls, and I'm based in Ireland, so I was around, I trained as a teacher and stuff, so I'd be well used to kind of talking, and did a lot of like consulting and stuff after that through work. So and I know a lot of the girls and all that, but they just called me up one day, gave it a go, really enjoyed it. I was dealing with Anya O'Gorman the day we go crack in the studio, so gotten another couple opportunities to do it since. I'll be on this Saturday for the Germany game, so I'm excited for that. It's going to be a big one. Hopefully we won't have too much to talk about after the match. I'd love it all. It'll be amazing, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's something I really enjoy. It's because I still love, I miss it, you know, and it's a way for me to nearly feel like I have some part in it. Like I've no interest in going into coaching or anything like that at the moment, but this side of things is something I am definitely interested in, and in the media side of things, and in kind of just the development and getting more exposure for the women's game. So I'm definitely happy to be part of that.
Yeah, it's probably kind of keeping you involved in a different way to playing.
Yeah, exactly, and really enjoying that aspect of things. Yeah, I'm always texting the girls in camp trying to get the inside scoop. So yeah, it's good.
Give RTE the exclusive.
Exactly, yeah.
Brilliant. And how did you find, your first time on national television? What was that like?
I was bricking it. Absolutely. If you look at me, my hands are like down by my side. I was afraid I'd have sweat patches. I was absolutely bricking it. That's half the battle, trying to cover that up. To be fair, we were well prepared. We knew a lot about the teams and stuff like that, so it was easier than maybe if you didn't know who you were commentating on. But obviously I knew a lot of the girls very well. It was recent enough since I'd left the squad, and I'm always in touch with a lot of the girls. So and have Anya beside me, obviously that was a lot easier as well, like someone to kind of bounce off and stuff. But it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and I'd say it's probably a bit of crack as well. You could say something and the girls in the squad would be texting you, oh Jesus, Karen, what are you saying?
You'd be afraid to say too much. You don't want to go too controversial in case you get deleted from the WhatsApp group. You're not getting invited to the Christmas drinks or something like that. I know, I'm sure they know it is what it is. You have to be honest as well, like
that's true,
otherwise you don't want to be that kind of generic, aren't the girls great kind of commentary as well. You want it to be honest. You want it to be as critical as it would be of the men's game. If someone's playing badly, you call it out. Similarly, if someone's playing outstanding, you call that out. So that's important too, to have that balance.
Probably easier for them as well, coming from you, as in they know you well.
Yeah, exactly. They can always get on to me and give me a ribbon if they want to.
Brilliant. And what's it like sort of behind the scenes, if the game is at 7, you obviously have to do a lot of prep and stuff before. What's that kind of like, obviously preparing for the game and for the halftime?
Yeah, so the week in advance you kind of be chatting to the team that's involved and kind of picking out things that you think would be worth highlighting, and then the guys behind the scenes do an awful lot of work in compiling packages for you to kind of talk over in advance of the game. They obviously have their pre-match interviews and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, picking out those, maybe it might be a 3-minute section that you do, but a lot of work goes into it. So they present us with those before the match, and we decide who's going to take what pieces. and you take a section each if there's 3 on the panel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the game progresses, you'll notice a pattern. So say, hopefully it'll be all Ireland chances this weekend, and you'll say,
Fingers
oh, can
crossed.
you clip that? And again, the guys are working tirelessly in the background, clipping things, getting them ready at short notice, and putting them into packages for halftime. So there's a lot of work that goes on, but yeah, kudos to the guys in there. They're so professional and they're really, really helpful.
It's like you nearly have another soccer team that you're a part of, is the
Yeah,
RTE crew.
I'm just getting assists. Getting assists left, right and centre.
Letting everyone else do the hard work as
yeah,
usual.
exactly, yeah.
Brilliant. And then
something I do well.
And then reflecting kind of back on your career, what is the highlight? I know you mentioned before it's obviously your All-Ireland title with Peamount. Is there anything that maybe in your soccer career stands out to you?
I think winning the league with Peamount was really important last year. We won it for the very first year the league came about. You know, when I was 19, I was 28 when we won it last year. 28 when we won it last year. So like, it was 9 years in the making. And again, it was just that, like, getting my first cap, it was that kind of feeling of relief. So I feel like that was just something I needed, you know, in my career. It would be awful to have retired and not won another league. So that was a big monkey off my back. But I think in terms of the buzz and a high that I experienced was definitely came from a 0-0 draw the time that we went and we drew with Holland in their stadium. There was 30,000 sold out. Like, wow. I think they had 87% possession, like a ridiculous amount of shots, ridiculous amount of corners, but like everyone stood up so well and everyone was fighting for each other so much. And when the final whistle went, it was like any win that you could ever imagine. It was an amazing feeling, just because we were such underdogs. I'd never experienced anything like that, and there was a hostile crowd and everything. Like, it was amazing. Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. Yeah,
it was sort of sink or swim.
Yeah, like, it could have gone either way. Like, when we played them at home, we conceded an early goal. And it was 3-0 within no time, you know, and the bubble was just burst. But the more the game went on and the more saves that went in and the more blocks went in, the more you wanted to do it. Like, it was going to always be hard to come from behind, but the longer the clock ticked on, the more hope we got and the more we grew into the game. And I think for a man, I couldn't fault anyone on that day. I thought everyone was just unbelievable, and I think that's something that will stick with us all, definitely.
Fantastic. And then looking forward, we obviously mentioned the Euros that are coming up in 2022. What can we expect from the Irish women's team over the next couple of years?
I think it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, there's new management in place, and very much the focus at the moment is just going to be with beating Ukraine and then hopefully get an automatic spot in the Euros, but maybe a playoff. I would think that it will be a lot of, I like that, trying to grow confidence within the team. I think Irish teams have tended to be solid defensively, but it's time now, if you want to progress and kind of compete with the likes of your Hollands and your Germanys, that you need to kind of develop that technical side of the game. So it'll be probably that, trying to be more comfortable on the ball. Hopefully Vera will bring that kind of Dutch mentality to the group, and you'll have players coming in who have that more confidence than maybe on the ball than maybe some of the previous years that have gone in. So yeah, I think hopefully a more expansive style will be on the cards, something that will be really good to watch, and hopefully there will be a lot more people watching, because there will have been that success in getting to the Euros.
Yeah, it's a pity with coronavirus, you know, in terms of sport. Now, I'm not saying degrading everything else, but it just in terms of, you know, I think soccer was on the rise here, and you'd obviously see the attendance growing for the national team games. Like, it's unfortunate that maybe, you know, people can't obviously attend the games at the moment and give the girls support. The
only thing they're lucky about is that they had the home support for that home Ukraine game, and like that's really the crunch game, the Ukraine game. They're the second seed, so that's the spot that Ireland were always going for. So having that home support probably got them over the line, because it was a hard fought 3-2 battle. So that's one bright thing that came from it. The fact that there won't be 10,000 Germans there tomorrow, or
that's true.
Be a good thing. and I don't think having a crowd at home to Germany would be much of a distinct advantage there. And hopefully by
Okay.
the time any playoff comes back around, hopefully now we'll be back able to support.
Yeah.
But it is great that the likes of RT have shown every game in this campaign, so there is that exposure, which is good. So hopefully that will kind of keep the interest going. And if they could get a result tomorrow, my
Yeah.
God, like
It'd be huge.
it'd be
Yeah.
huge. It'd be huge for in terms of viewing. People would switch on Saturday morning, nothing else to watch. So it would be amazing if they could kind of get something.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And you mentioned it there briefly with kind of having the German supporters. Do the crowd make a difference? Are they that 12th man when you're playing on the pitch?
They can be. Like I said, away from home at the time we played Holland, I think the fact that they were so they had their voices that night and they were booing and everything. I actually think that worked in our advantage, but I definitely think at home in those kind of crunch games, I remember when we played Slovakia, one of my last kind of games as well, we conceded a sloppy goal and we needed to win that game, and we were getting kind of tired legs, and I do think it did kind of spur us on a little bit, having that extra support. You could have dropped the head between the legs a little bit, but when you have too many people watching you, too many of your friends that would slag you and stuff. So no, it definitely does make a difference, I think.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And the final segment I'd like to do is what's called the Sideline 7. So it's the same 7 questions for every guest so the listeners can compare their answers. So question 1 is, what is your favourite quote?
Oh God, I'm not much of a quote girl.
Live, laugh, love, maybe.
Oh God, yeah, that's very me now. Oh, no, I'll go with Anya O'Gorman. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah, that's been a reoccurring one over the past few episodes.
That's the only one I can think of, to be honest. I'm not really one for quotes.
Very good, yeah. Second question is the best sporting event you've been to. Now, I'll do a separate for you. I'll say as a player and as a fan.
As a player, the World Student Games was amazing.
Okay,
yeah.
Where was that?
That was in Russia.
Okay, yeah.
And like you had an opening ceremony. There was like every sport, like it's a mini Olympics for students.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like it was amazing. The setup was amazing. Getting to interact with all the different teams and like actually doing that lap like they do in the Olympics to a packed arena and stuff. Yeah, that was definitely a highlight and something I'm so grateful I got the opportunity to go to. As a fan, I think when Shane Long scored against Germany, I absolutely lost it. Like it was amazing. Like it was just amazing. The place was rocking, and that's probably something I'm really missing. Going to the Aviva, going to the men's Ireland games, as painful as they can be, they're part of your life, and you go even though it's painful at times. But that's something I'm really missing. But that was something I'll never forget. Yeah,
probably, that made up, Shane's goal made up for those moments of not despair, but frustration.
Yeah. Oh, it did. 100%. That's what keeps you going back, moments like that.
Fantastic. What is the biggest setback or challenge you've had in your career?
Just the constantly not getting picked for 5 years was pretty tough.
Sorry to bring it up again.
Yeah, that's fine. I just had years of therapy to get over it. But no, like, to be honest, I would have shed tears over that. Like, and wondered, was it worth it? So definitely that not getting picked when I was at senior level for a good while. That was hard to take. But like, it got there in the end.
It probably helped form you into the player you are today.
Well, I'm resilient anyway.
That's it. Yeah, that's good. What is your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
My biggest achievement. I think we can. I know a lot of people's biggest achievement is maybe becoming a professional footballer, but I think the fact that I was able to balance a career as well as represent my country. Like, I got FAI Player of the Year, and I was working full time. Training like a mad woman as well, like, and had no free time, but I'm very proud that I was able to do that. Also the influence that we had when we took the stand against the FAI as a group, and we kind of fought for better conditions for the girls. I think that is definitely something that, especially for those of us who worked hard for so many years and didn't get to experience the high of a major tournament, I think that when the girls do qualify, which I think they will, that we can all feel like we played a little bit of a part in that, because we did help raise the standards, get a full-time coach in there, get extra training, and just get people take us a bit more seriously. So that's definitely
Yeah,
I would
totally.
say proudest moment. Yeah.
And probably needed that stand to get the team and the level of play to be able to qualify and have the potential to qualify for a major tournament.
I think so. I mean, like, we tried for years and years before that, and no one kind of paid any attention. Obviously, everyone knows there was a small bit of corruption maybe going on in the background, and we weren't something that was high
you
priority.
Weren't at the forefront.
No,
yeah, totally.
We weren't on the priority list definitely there for a long time. So it was an important thing to do. I'm very glad we did it.
Fantastic. Kind of looking back then, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
18-year-old self, stay out of the lodge and UL a bit more. Like, you might get that cap a little bit earlier. Yeah, that's probably it. Like, I was pretty disciplined as a kid. Like, I probably would say put less pressure on myself, because I took every time I didn't make the team very hard. Like, it was very hard on myself, and it did get me down at times. So I probably would say just kind of enjoy the good things that do come your way a little bit more, and maybe not stress so much about what's coming down the line. Just work as hard as you can, and if that's good enough, that's good enough.
Yeah, hindsight is a great thing to have.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
If you had any pick in the world, who would you have as a dinner guest, and why?
Can I have all of Westlife?
Which? All of Westlife. Yeah, we'll turn into a dinner party.
Absolutely, it would be Westlife, no doubt about it. I want that. I was in Croke Park with them last year. I want that in my living room. It was amazing. Yeah,
we definitely need a big table and a big room for social distancing.
Well, we're allowed meeting groups of 6.
So there you go.
One household. Perfect.
Sorted. They can move in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorted. Lads, if you're listening, get on to Karen. Brilliant. And my final question is, if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
What chapter? That's a really good question.
I robbed it off another podcast, so
yeah, it's pretty good. The COVID chill out chapter.
Yeah, that's a lot of alliteration there. That's
yeah,
a teaching degree.
That's what I like. That's gets you places. Yeah, chill out. Yeah, I'm just enjoying what I can enjoy, what we're allowed to enjoy at the moment. Not putting any pressure on myself in terms of soccer or anything like that. So yeah, the COVID chill out.
Fantastic. Look, Karen, thanks very much for coming on. I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your season, and we'll see you on Saturday now on RTE.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks a million for having me.
Since our chat, Karen has won the Women's National League title and an FAI Women's Cup title with Peamount. She also bagged herself a goal in the final and was recently named Women's National League Player of the Year. Congratulations, Karen. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a rating and a review. If you're interested in starting up your own podcast, be sure to get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram @PrimalPro.